Nebraska loses to Maryland 13-10 on a last-second walk-off field goal with no time left. And yes, I'm in the bathroom again. It's a little dressed up with some festive lights because I figured I'd probably be spending more time in here. Didn't really want to do this one in here, but here we are. Nebraska and Maryland comes into the game. Both 5-4. Maryland goes away bowl eligible, and Nebraska goes away sad and filled with anxiety about whether or not we can get one win in the next two tries against Wisconsin and Iowa. And if you happen to be one of those people who's just going to say, well, we won't win another game, well, you might be right and you might be wrong, and we'll see what happens. And, that's in the future. We're here to talk about Maryland. I know that the sentiment about this game is going to be that Marcus Satterfield threw the game away with that call where Chubba Purdy threw the pass and got it intercepted near the end zone. And my counterpoint to that is I'm sure Chubba Purdy would like that pass back, and I'm sure Marcus Satterfield probably wants that call back. But I'm also pretty sure that the game wasn't decided on that play, as our other quarterbacks turned the ball over many, many times. It's always been, I know the sentiment is going to be, let's fire Satterfield, that kind of stuff this week. And to be honest, that would make us have 4 offensive coordinators in 4 years. Not really a good way to build continuity. And I think, honestly, Satterfield he's squeezed as much juice out of this offense as he can. And it's not a good offense. And I think we go into every game expecting, oh, well, this game will be different, or this game will show improvement. And it doesn't. It's pretty clear now that we have 3 quarterbacks that if we combined them all together in like one Frankenstein monster, they'd combine to throw 6 turnovers or 6 fumbles or 6 interceptions a game. We're not in a good position, and that's not going to change this year. So the hope is we get, again, 1 win out of 2 more tries. Or maybe you're of the attitude that, well, Nebraska doesn't deserve a bowl game. This defense deserves a bowl game. The defense held Maryland to 13 freaking points, and that's pretty good. They gave up, a big play over the top of Malcolm Hartzog. Again, they gave up a couple explosive plays, but again, held the other team to 13 points, which always should be enough to win, but unfortunately it wasn't, again, because of the turnovers. Heinrich Haarberg looked, quite frankly, terrible. Jeff Sims looked pretty decent until all of a sudden he didn't. And Chubba Purdy did the same, and that's our 3 quarterbacks. And, unless you're going to put in redshirt freshman Jack Wosh and see what he can do, that's what we have for the 2 games remaining in this season. 5-5, I guess, that's more wins than a Matt Rule team. Oh my God, I'm trying to rationalize this. It's frustrating and it sucks. And it's 2 games in a row, 2 losses in a row where you went up against a team that you thought, okay, we can beat this team. Michigan State was in a free fall. Maryland was in a free fall. And we both come away with losses. Was there any real bright points on offense? Probably Emmett Johnson. If you're of the sentiment that we should only run the ball, well, we can't do that because our offensive line just isn't a juggernaut. This isn't the days of Matt Turman. We can't just hand the ball off repeatedly over and over. Unless you want to have a scheme or a game plan that says we're going to get 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, and then we're going to punt the ball. Iowa does that a lot. But even they try to throw the ball sometimes. They just play good enough defense that they can overcome it. And that's not a knock against our defense. It's just a kind of a crappy comparison to Iowa. I'm trying to find anything decent to say about this. But, we can't not throw the ball because we're not just good enough to run it all the time. And the defensive alignment, all they have to do is line up in the box and boom, there goes the running play. Maryland got their rushing going in the second half, or they did a lot better rushing the ball in this game than they had previously, and that's because they mixed it up between the big explosive plays, just the few that we gave up, and, them making some plays, and they did. Give credit to Maryland. I guess if there's one positive to take away from the game, it's that Nebraska had like 1 penalty compared to, I think, Maryland's 11, maybe 12. Two of those penalties were manufactured by Nebraska, unnecessary roughness calls. When our defensive guys kind of did the soccer flopping thing, and one of those penalties took Maryland out of field goal range right before the half. So, the defense, again, is playing very, very well. I don't know if you could expect much more from them. I mean, they gave up some big plays, but again, 13 points. They played pretty close to about as perfect a defensive game as you could. They even came away with what, 2 takeaways that gave us points, and you really thought, okay, we're getting things going, and then bam, another turnover happens. And if you go back to the Satterfield thing with the Chubba Purdy turnover in the end zone, you could say we kick a field goal there, it's 13-10, we're running more clock because we ran the ball a little bit more. But on Maryland's last drive, our defense gave up some yardage, and they gave up their only penalty a game, which was a big, unfortunate penalty at a really inopportune time. So there's no way to say that. It always bugs me when, people say the play came down to this, and, kicker at the end of the game misses a field goal, and everybody blames that guy for the rest of his life. Talking about Byron Bennett. A lot of things that happen in a game, besides what happens in the last few plays that determine the outcome of the game. And there were certainly a lot of really crappy plays by Nebraska that determined this one. So I guess I just focus on that, and the solution isn't always just fire the coach, because I don't know, it just seems like an easy out. And maybe I mentioned this. I've gone through the 8 takes of this thing. But that would give us our 4th offensive coordinator in 4 years, and that's certainly not a way to build continuity, and it's not a way to build a future team. I know we're going to have a lot of doomsayers this week. We're going to lose the recruiting class. We're going to have this. Nebraska had 80 recruits at this game. None of them will come to Nebraska. Well, a lot of them probably saw an opportunity to play or an opportunity to help out. So I try to keep the doomsaying to a minimum. I know this sucks. I wanted to win. I wanted us to just be bowl eligible for no other reason, that we could hear the announcer who had to mention we hadn't been to a bowl game since 2016 about 83 times during the broadcast. We could just get rid of that. Even at 5-7, there might be a chance we go to a bowl game. I'm sure there's some people who go, well, we shouldn't take it. We should refuse that. That's just silly. Well, again, the defense deserves a bowl game, and we would get to listen to no longer, and we wouldn't have to hear announcers say that crap, and we get more practice, something I sorely believe that we need. Those are my thoughts about this horrible, terrible, stinky loss against Maryland. I'm interested to hear yours. I'm sure a lot of the boo birds are going to come out this week. Well, let it go. I mean, yes, there's still a curse, I guess, if you want to call it that. Again, Wisconsin and Iowa left. Maybe we can get a win out of either of them. If you don't think so, neither are juggernauts. We'll wait and see what happens. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Go Big Red. Oh, boy.